In this video, I want to talk about why the school system is authoritarian. This is really important because I think that our lack of awareness of this issue really speaks to our lack of understanding of this incredibly important institution, school, which is massively important within our society and our political economy. Also, and what I really want to emphasize in this video is that understanding why the school system is authoritarian can really help us understand so much more clearly what is going on with so many young people, particularly those that are labeled or are said to have mental health problems, behavioral issues, etc. I think that the truth of these issues is often obfuscated because we don't see the school system with clarity. Authoritarianism is defined by the Encyclopedia Britannica as the principle of blind submission to authority and the repression of individual freedom of thought and action. This very accurately describes the school system. Something that all kids discover very quickly is that this is an environment that you must submit to. Obedience is all important, and your performance within that system is primarily judged based on how obedient you are. I have this distinct memory from my first or second year of high school where at the time I was going to a slightly more alternative high school, but still within the public school system. And I was attending a driver's ed class at the nearby major high school. And in this class was something like 400 or 500 students. And the teacher made a comment that was related to politics. And it was something about George Bush, and it was kind of like an anti-George Bush comment. And I largely agreed with the general sentiment because I wasn't a fan of George Bush either. But I thought that the actual comment was totally off base, and it rubbed me the wrong way because it just wasn't truthful and it was very biased. And to me, that kind of thing matters. And so in this classroom of like 400 or 500 students, I raised my hand and I challenged the teacher. And this girl who was sitting next to me was very amused by this and said, "See, this is what happens when you don't go to regular high school." And experiences like this really underscore that A, school is really more about obedience than anything else, and B, school tends to crush a lot of really positive tendencies within kids. And so conventional authoritarian school very much works against many of the values that we say are important in our relatively free society. What is the primary career, if you will, of your childhood is something that you have very little say over. The school system is going to tell you what you're going to do with virtually every minute of your time, what you're going to study, to a large extent, who you're going to associate with, when you can eat, drink, go to the bathroom, move your body, get fresh air, talk to your parents, on and on. And kids are constantly being evaluated, surveilled, and threatened to ensure compliance with all of that. Now, at the same time, we have this huge epidemic of dysfunction within our young population, what we call mental illness, behavior problems, substance abuse, on and on. And if you buy this conventional story about the school system, which is that more or less the school system is just, sure, there could be some changes made here or there that might improve it, but more or less the fundamental structure of it is positive, it's in the best interest of the population and our country as a whole, then you see this epidemic of dysfunction within our youth as a problem within them, not a problem that is in the school system or that relates to the school system. But when you recognize that the school system is authoritarian, the picture starts to look very different. So for example, when kids are under constant surveillance, evaluation, and threat in order to ensure compliance, common sense would indicate that anxiety could very well be a consequence of this. Or if you are experiencing this loss of bodily autonomy within authoritarian schooling, kids could very well have a hard time sitting still, and they may not pay attention very well. You wouldn't say necessarily that they need stimulant medication. You might say that they need their real needs met. And so many of these issues with young people could have very clear roots in authoritarian schooling. Now, I'm not saying that all cases of childhood mental illness or behavior problems are related to this, but I think that the dynamic is very clear and the pattern is very clear. And my understanding, and this was very clearly my experience, is that the mental health system as it relates to young people overwhelmingly does not understand it in these terms. What they do is they basically buy this standard narrative about the school system, not acknowledging that it's authoritarian. They basically accept it as just, and then they make the problem out to be something that is in the individual pathology of the kid. That's how they frame it. They think that the kid is the problem, not the system. And then they intervene on that basis. And it's really destructive. And it's destructive because it's blame shifting. The system isn't accountable, it's scapegoating the kids, and the mental health interventions enable this lack of accountability. And no amount of talking about how good their interventions are make up for the harm that's done with this approach. It's a reiteration, actually, of the same thing you see in a lot of families, which is that parents don't want to take accountability for their unresolved issues and the issues within the family system because it's painful. And so they say that there's something wrong with the kid. And then mental health professionals in our system are happy to oblige, happy to provide interventions that make the kid easier to deal with, more docile, more likely to fit within that system. And they basically throw the kid under the bus. And stunningly, the adults tend to make themselves out to be the victim of the kid when the kid is angry or upset or whatever. And so there's no accountability. Now, what are the long-term consequences for the kid of this general dynamic and approach? Well, I think that the consequences are largely the consequences of authoritarianism in general. It leaves the kids disempowered, broken inside, with low self-esteem, lacking assertiveness, lacking their own real perspective, wants, needs, and goals because they weren't really tolerated within their earlier environment. And my experience has been that long-term healing from this stuff involves really understanding all of it. If you continue to deny the ways in which your earlier environments were problematic and authoritarian, then you will probably continue to see yourself as broken. But actually, it's clear that not fitting into the authoritarian school system actually often indicates some very positive qualities within us. So if you are really creative, really value your autonomy, really value critical thinking, have a really strong sense of self, maybe are naturally assertive in some ways, these are all very positive qualities that don't fit within an authoritarian school system. So they say that there's something wrong with you, but really it's the opposite. So these are just some quick thoughts here on why the school system is authoritarian and why it matters. And so I really hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that it's provided some validation. Please share your experience with this in the comments. I think that we'd all really benefit from hearing that. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and also hit the little notification bell so that you can get notified whenever I release new videos. Please also share this video with anybody who you think might find it valuable. Thank you for watching this all the way to the end, and I look forward to having you for the next one.